vacation season, we wanted to remind you about them.
That's right. All-Star Toyota has daily, weekly, and monthly rentals with flexible plans and competitive rates that blow the other places out of the water. In fact, you can rent a new Toyota for as little as $60 a day. These rentals are perfect for out-of-town trips, for business, or pleasure.
All-Star Toyota, located on Airline at Goodwood. Check out their website at allstartoyotaofbatonrouge.com.
WNXX, Jackson, KNXX, Donaldsonville, and WDGL HD2 Baton Rouge. This by Spencer Callahan Injury. Now, The Hunt Palmer Show. You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Monday. That means we're brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products. Jacob Beck and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. Hope your work week is off to a good start. Hope your weekend was a safe one and fun one. All the moms out there, happy belated Mother's Day. Hope it was an enjoyable weekend for all of you. We got a ton to get to over the next 2 hours. At the bottom of this hour, Sean Fazan of Fox 8 is going to jump aboard. The Saints had rookie minicamp over the weekend. Dennis Allen met with reporters. We'll talk about that with Sean Fazan. Paul Skenes made his debut up in Detroit, and then the skies opened up, and his bullpen was atrocious, and they still won. But I want to talk a little bit about that at 1:45. We'll hear the sound from Dennis Allen earlier this weekend. LSU is looking at other positions in the transfer portal now. We'll talk about that at 2:15. But unfortunately, we will start with LSU baseball. They do not get it done over the weekend in Tuscaloosa. The Tide takes the series 2-1. LSU dropped a heartbreaker on Friday, played a solid baseball game on Saturday, and just came up short with a comeback on Sunday. But you already know all of that. And what I saw this weekend was a team that put itself in a position through 5 weeks of SEC play to be nearly flawless the rest of the way.
All-Star Toyota presents Off the Bench with Jacob Hester.
All right, onward. Sometimes the computer gets a mind of its own. So you put yourself in a position through 5 weeks to be perfect, and essentially you had to walk a high wire.
All-Star Toyota presents Off the Bench.
We good, Beck? What do we got?
Yeah, I'm not sure what's happening, but we're playing the off the bench intro for some reason.
Okay,
so.
well, let's just obviously, I was just told you this many times. Like, I have no idea of anything that goes on behind that wall of screens. I have no idea what button is what, how things happen, what needs to be going on, what doesn't. So anything that goes on over there is beyond.
We're efforting.
Beyond my jurisdiction. All I can handle is this 3 feet of desk in front of me here. So let's talk about baseball. Look, LSU had to be perfect for 5 weeks, basically, to get into the NCAA tournament. And they were very, very close to being good enough this weekend, but they weren't good enough to win. And it puts you in such a precarious situation. We'll go back to Friday. You all know the situation, but Tommy White misses third base. And not because he had to hustle to score. He didn't. It was ball down in the corner. He scored standing up, but he misses third base, and you give away a run there. And LSU should have knocked Alabama flat out of this ball game early on, and they didn't. They allowed Alabama to hang in there and hang in there and hang in there. And then you separated a little bit in the 8th inning, and you got that 2 spot to move it to 4. And at that point, Herring is ready, and I would have gone to Griffin Herring. But I understand what Jay was thinking. Jay's sitting there with Christian Little in the ballgame, and Little was wobbly in the 7th inning. He obviously gave up a hit. He went to 3 ball counts consecutively. He got out of it, but it wasn't very efficient. And Jay's thinking, okay, to win this series, I'm going to have to win a game that Griffin Herring doesn't pitch in, because Herring's basically become a 1 outing a weekend guy. And this might be it. I got to get 6 more outs, and I've got a 4-run lead. And Little's in there, and he's my second best guy. This is an opportunity maybe to win that game without Griffin Herring. I would not have done it. I'd have gone to Herring and tried to slam that thing down. He didn't. We know that Little gives up the walk, then gives up the homer, and now gives up a single, and now you've got issues all over the place, and Herring's got to come in and clean it up. And unfortunately, Herring does induce weak contact in the 8th, but it's a flare for a base hit that drops in and scores that run to cut the lead to 1. And then he comes out in the 9th inning, and he strikes the first 2 guys out, and he looks fantastic doing it, and then he loses his release point. Walk, hit by pitch on the first pitch. But he buckled down. He had lost his release point. His command wasn't there, but he got the count to 2-2, and he made a really good pitch with the slider. And the kid hit a swing and bunt. And at that point, Alex Milazzo does everything right. He pounces out of his crouch. He ditches the mask. He calls off Herring immediately, making the play going towards the base. He barehands the ball. At that point, he had done everything right. He was quick. He was decisive. And he sailed the ball wide of a 6'3", 250-pound first baseman. It happens. And it was a backbreaker. But the Tigers come back, and they do a great job on Saturday. Holman pitches well enough, even though he walked too many guys. And you win a 6-3 ball game where your offense was good. You had 10 hits. Your starting pitching was good. And you put yourself in a position to play a rubber game. But at this point, we kind of know how rubber games have gone for LSU. They were 1-7 entering Tuscaloosa. They left 1-8. And it's always something. That's been the thing with this team. Sometimes on Sundays, they run out of pitching. And Florida or Vanderbilt just goes nuts offensively. That wasn't the case this time. LSU pieced it together and pitched it pretty good. You only allowed 4 runs. Dutton didn't have it. Moffitt didn't have it through a wild pitch and got out of an inning. But Lohr was good, and Ulloa steadied things. Christian Little threw it great. You pitched it fine, but you couldn't hit. And there have been some Sundays where they couldn't hit. And I would throw the caveat in there on those Sundays they couldn't hit that some of the arms they've seen on Sundays aren't your traditional Sunday dudes. Carter Holton, Jack Caglione, Dranslow Sanja, guys are pretty talented dudes that are throwing on Sundays against LSU. And yesterday, Ben Hess is a talented dude. Everyone else is hitting him, but he's a talented dude, and LSU couldn't solve him. Longest outing of his career, 10 strikeouts. But you found a way against the bullpen to get that tying run into scoring position, and Ashton Larson strikes out. And Stephen Milam comes up and hits a rocket right at the shortstop. He just didn't get those breaks. And that happens to everybody over the course of a 10-weekend regular season. But LSU put themselves in a position through 5 weeks that you could not allow that to happen. And so now your fate is very much in peril. We'll talk about it in the next segment, like where LSU sits. But for me, this was a team that had to be pretty much perfect the last 5 weeks, and it didn't go perfectly. Some of it was your fault. Some of it was just bad luck. They've kind of found a little something late. I mean, if you look at Luke Holman and Gage Jump, I mean, those guys are throwing the ball well now. Where if Milazzo makes that throw on Friday, LSU would be 7-1 in their last 8 starts. They're 6-2 in their last 8 starts, but 6-2 may not be good enough because of how bad you were the first 5 weeks. LSU was awful charitable this weekend in Tuscaloosa. I mean, on Friday, you issued 5 walks, hit a batter, missed third base, made an error that was costly. Luke Holman walked 4 guys. You had another error on Saturday. It just wasn't completely clean. And you were still right there in every game. 1 pitch away, 1 throw away on Friday, 1 swing away on Sunday. But that's not good enough because you've dug yourself such a big hole. There are some issues on this team, but there's been some improvement over the last month and a half. Question is, will they have an opportunity to show that improvement in postseason? The answer's pretty uncertain at this point. Our baseball breakdowns all season long are brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar, 2 locations, Nicholson just south of campus, and of course, Bluebonnet in front of the Mall of Louisiana. Stop on by. Get you some Breggie's Creole Crush. Brand new wing sauce over there is really, really good. All right, that's a quick hit on the baseball weekend that was. I want to talk about where LSU sits in terms of the postseason and also some trends with this team that I found to be a little bit alarming. So we'll talk about all that coming up on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Visit us at LeBear's Baton Rouge Casino this spring for all the hoops and hockey playoff action. We got the biggest screens, the best food and drink, plus we're giving away Penn cash bonuses and prizes to Penn Play Rewards members. Not a member? Join today by downloading and registering for the Penn Play app from the App Store. You can unlock all the fun, including a chance to win up to $2,000 in Penn cash. All this and more. Make LeBear's Baton Rouge Casino your spring sports viewing headquarters. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps are held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Monday's AFR, presented by Relief Windows. We'll recap LSU, Alabama, and baseball. David DeLucci will be here, and our takeaways from Saints rookie minicamp, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
I was looking over the SEC stats, SEC-only stats for LSU's baseball team, just kind of see if anything jumped off the page at me. And again, it's one of those deals that, like, don't learn something new, but sometimes it gets the mind churning a little bit. And when I look at LSU's statistics and start to think about their lineup offensively, it just doesn't quite have enough pop in it. There was a time 10 years ago where you could win, hit and run, do some bunting, find your clutch hit here and there. And look, Kentucky's winning a lot of games without hitting home runs right now too. But baseball at the collegiate and certainly in the major league level has shifted toward the home run. Like, it's important to hit homers. And we know that the best teams do that. Florida and LSU had a ton of home runs last year. They were in the national final. This year, I think the best teams in the SEC are Tennessee, A&M hit a ton of home runs. Arkansas doesn't, but when you've got a guy in Hagen Smith that they've won all 9 of his league starts, like, that changes the math for you a little bit. And I look at LSU's lineup and the guys that play, and like Ashton Larson has 3 home runs in SEC play. He's played in 23 league games, but he's not really power hitter. Michael Braswell has no power at all, 0 SEC home runs. Stephen Milam is not a power hitter. I think he's going to grow into a 10 home run type guy, but right now, 3 league home runs, he's not going to give you a bunch of pop. Josh Pearson has 2 SEC home runs. Alex Milazzo has no pop in his bat. Paxton Kling does not have an SEC home run. Jake Brown is not a power hitter. Like, you're basically relying on Jones and White to do everything from a power perspective. Travinsky's done a little bit, but unfortunately right now he's 1 for his last 21, and he wasn't even in the lineup yesterday. So it's just not enough scoreboard-changing thump in that lineup. Last year, Cruz, White, Jobert, all big power. Beloso had power. You could get a little bit of pop from Travinsky there at the end. For a shortstop, Jordan Thompson hits with some power. Trey Morgan grew into some power. Gavin Dugas had power. Like, you had more guys that were capable of changing the scoreboard quickly. And so this LSU team is having to rely on stacking more hits together and trying to get hits with 2 outs. It's just a tougher way to make a living. And I don't know that this is earth-shattering information to anybody, but it did just kind of make me think a little bit. Now, Jones is having a fantastic year. Tommy White in SEC play, his batting average is down to 284. His on base is 352. That's a little down from normal, but that should be expected because he doesn't have Cruz and Jobert and Morgan and Beloso hitting right around him right now. So the lineup just doesn't quite have enough pop. That's just something you've got to have. And there's a world and a reality. Certainly Tommy White's not going to be here next year, and there's a world where Jarrett Jones isn't here next year. And the kind of question is like, well, where's the power going to come from? You got to find something at some point. We're a long way from that, but it just struck me that if you look at the statistics, LSU is in the top half in the SEC in home runs in league games. But that's because you look up and Tommy White has hit 13 and Jerry Jones has hit 9. That's 22 of your league homers. That's half. They've got half your homers. You've hit 44. So that's something that has kind of stuck out to me there a little bit. Is you're having some of these Sundays where you're not scoring some runs. It would help if you could run a couple balls out of the yard. Now let's look at LSU from a resume perspective and where things stand. You know what we've been talking about for 3-4 weeks now. You got to get to 13, got to get to 13, got to get to 13. Well, here's why that is the case. As you look up today, LSU's RPI is 34. That is 5 spots worse than Florida. That is 6 spots worse than Vanderbilt. And Alabama, by virtue of beating you 2 out of 3, has moved all the way up to number 11 in the RPI. And Ole Miss is 24. So you have the worst RPI of this lot of bubble teams in the SEC. We would consider Ole Miss a bubble team. We would consider Florida a bubble team. Alabama is no longer on the bubble. They've got 12 league wins. They've got Auburn coming up. They've got 12 Quadrant 1 wins against LSU, who sits here as we speak with 7 more. So you're not even in the discussion with Alabama at this point. You are in the discussion with Ole Miss, Florida, and even Vanderbilt, who has 12 league wins. Florida has 11, LSU has 10. You figure the SEC is only going to get 10 teams in. That's my guess. And you're in 12th in the league right now. So how do you fix that, and what does the math look like? Well, if you only get 2 wins against Ole Miss, all of a sudden, Ole Miss is 12-18, and you are 12-18. You kind of have a tiebreaker there with them, even though with the head-to-head, although their RPI is going to be better, their strength of schedule is going to be better, and their quadrant 1 wins are going to be better. So that's a bit of an issue. If you only get 2, you would need Florida to get swept. And if Florida gets swept, all of a sudden they've got an issue being over 500 because they are not going to schedule those 2 extra games we thought they were going to schedule tomorrow. Kendall Rogers said it on Matt's show. I had heard that, listened to a couple podcasts, that like Florida has the ability because they didn't lose. They did not play 2 games due to rain on opening weekend. They had St. John's coming to town. They can only play 1 baseball game because of the rain. So they thought, okay, maybe they schedule Florida A&M in a doubleheader on Tuesday and get 2 wins to try to stay over 500. They're not doing that. So Florida's issue is being over 500. They're 26-25. They go to Athens. If they lose 2 out of 3 in Athens, they will go to Hoover at even 500. They lose on Tuesday, they're ineligible for the NCAAs. If they win 2 out of 3 against Georgia, they will go to Hoover at 28-26, 2 games over 500. And as long as they win 1 game there, they're fine. So what you need to have happen if you're LSU is you're going to have to sweep Ole Miss. That knocks Ole Miss out of the tournament, and you need to pull against Florida as well. If those 2 things happen, all of a sudden you're 10th in that pecking order in the SEC. Right now you're 12th. Now Vanderbilt factors in here. They've only got 12 wins. If Vanderbilt manages to get swept this weekend, which they've been swept 3 times already, then they're on the outside looking in. They're at Kentucky. I wouldn't pick Kentucky to sweep a series, but it's certainly possible. I do not see a path for LSU into the NCAA tournament at 12 league wins. At 12 league wins, I think you're in worse shape than Ole Miss. You still need help from Florida. You still need help from Vanderbilt. Even if you ran to Saturday or Sunday in Hoover, I just don't see it. And who's supposed to pitch those 5 games you're going to have to win? That's not exactly LSU's strong suit here, is a deep pitching staff. I think it gets decided this weekend at the Bucs. You lose 1 baseball game to Ole Miss, I believe you will have to go win the SEC tournament. Now, there are still variables at play here. RPIs change, quadrant 1 wins change, conference tournaments can be stolen, bids can be stolen. Like, there are variables, so I can't speak in absolutes here on Monday, 2 weeks out from Selection Monday. But I feel comfortable with that assessment. I think if LSU wins 2 out of 3 this weekend and gets to 12-18, they will fall short of the NCAA tournament. Again, not absolute, because maybe Ole Miss, who's also 12-18, doesn't get in because you beat them head-to-head. Maybe Florida backs their way out of things. So there's other variables there. But to me, this is a team that must sweep. And LSU has not swept a weekend since the 3rd week of the season. The 4th week, they lost on Sunday, and they got an SEC play and haven't swept. And it's just a team that doesn't create enough margin for error to get a sweep because Herring only pitches in 1 game. You don't have a Sunday starter, and your offense hasn't been able to pick up the slack when necessary. A lot of times, I think, because they don't hit enough home runs. So it's a bleak situation, and I'm disappointed big time. But I think that this is one of those deals where you're going to look back at this season and you'll go, they gave 1 away on Friday in Tuscaloosa, and they gave 1 away on Saturday against Florida. Game 2 against Florida. I think that was a Thursday, Friday, Saturday series. In Game 2 against Florida. Those 2 8th and 9th innings, so 4 innings of baseball, boiled down to winning and losing and getting into the NCAA tournament. And that's a hard thing to sit back and realize. And maybe they'll surprise me. But it just feels like they gave 2 away, and they didn't really steal 1. I mean, You got to win in walk-off fashion against Auburn at home, but do you feel like you stole that one? Not really. I think Alabama stole that one on Friday night. Like, the final out was in LSU's hand 40 feet from first base. And in the course of 6 seconds, things changed. And then we know how things materialized in that game against Florida. Those two will likely be the difference between making the NCAA tournament and not. Because if you had those two games in your back pocket and you were 12-15, you would only need one win in 3 games at home against Ole Miss. But ifs and buts, they say, right? Not great. It's just a real bummer. You had an opportunity to sweep Missouri, had an opportunity to sweep Auburn, couldn't get those done, and then it got away from you over the weekend. So as I look at things, I don't see a world where LSU at 12 wins has enough on the resume to get in the NCAA tournament. It's never happened in SEC play. 12-17 got in when somebody was short a game. 12-18, I just don't know that I see it. So we'll keep you posted on RPI things as we move forward. Remember, this weekend against Ole Miss at home, everybody in the league moves up to Thursday, Friday, Saturday, so they can get ready for the SEC baseball tournament. So Ole Miss and LSU Thursday from the box. Our baseball breakdowns all season long, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar. All right, we'll pause for a timeout. When we come back, Saints rookie minicamp over the weekend. Sean Fazan was there. He's talking about it next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio, video, security. So that was just awful. Just couldn't get it out. Audio, video, security solutions, avssla.com. Actually, on Sunday, had the game on. The speakers in the backyard because the little guy wanted to play some t-ball. So he was hammering away, and I was listening to Chris Blair and Bill Franquez on the call. Thanks to the folks at Audio Video Security Solutions. The system they put in my house is so easy to use. It's all on the app. At the touch of a button, I can control the volume. I can change in and out. I can listen to local radio like I did yesterday. We can listen to music as well. It's all thanks to Mitchell Fisher and his team at Audio Video Security Solutions. If you're curious of some of the things that they can do at AVSS, go to their Instagram. It's at AVSS_BR. AVSS_BR. They've got great photos and videos of some of the great technology that they can help you with, whether it's your outdoor area, if you're spending a lot of time outdoors in the summer, or surround sound in the house as well. They do it all at Audio Video Security Solutions. It's AVSSLA.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
When things heat up, you don't just want a cold one. You want the coldest one. The cold lagered, cold filtered, cold packaged one. Mountain Cold Refreshment. Coors Light. Choose chill.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $11,000 off the new 23 Dodge Charger. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $11,000 off the powerful new Charger. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next.
Tanner join us for the Tuesday edition of Live at Lunch. We are at Mike Anderson Seafood, Wesley at Nicholson. Take a look back at the night in the NBA, plus Andy Isco joins us from Las Vegas. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. Tuesday on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Gulf Coast Office Products, GCOPnet.com. For all your printing, copying, scanning needs, contact Trey Beal and the folks over at Gulf Coast Office Products. They are the official office product supplier of the New Orleans Saints, who had rookie mini champ over the weekend. Sean Fazan covers the black and gold for Fox 8, and he joins us now on Jim's Firearms Hotline. Sean, thanks for the time. How are you?
Doing well. How are you?
Doing quite well. What is rookie mini camp?
Well, it's a bunch of first-year guys get together and mixed in with a few veterans that may not necessarily be on a rookie contract but are getting a tryout to come out, and they get together. It's a 3-day rookie mini camp. It's a non-padded practice. They work with the coaches for the first time, get on the field, get a very, very, very basic level of installation from offense to defense, try to get a feel for, how the ebb and flow of practice goes, and then I think this weekend it was 60 guys total, maybe, when you talk about the undrafted rookies, draft picks, and tryout guys. And then they just kind of get acclimated, almost like a freshman orientation, but on the NFL level.
Of those 60 guys, realistically, how many would you expect to be on the 53 for the first game?
Ooh, well, there's 7 draft picks. I don't know if every one of those guys are going to be on the 53 for the first game. You got your list of undrafted guys that generally produce 1, maybe 2 guys that will sneak on to the 53. Dallin Holker is the guy that seems to be standing out of that group. So I would guess, and this is just a ballpark figure, with the Saints this year, 7 or 8 of those guys would be on the 53-man roster when the season starts in week 1.
That's a bigger number than I thought. So that's interesting. So, all right, let's talk about some of the bigger name guys that were out there, and I guess we'll start with the first rounder. You're looking at a big old offensive tackle in Taliesin Fuanga. How do you look?
He looked good. Actually, physically, he actually looked a little bit leaner than I had anticipated. I felt like I saw him at the Senior Bowl. He just felt a little bit heavier. He said he was at 325, which is a little bit lighter than what he played with last year at Oregon State, where I think he crept to about 330. But he was playing over on the left side, which is huge news, or significant news. The Saints know he can play right tackle, but they're trying to cross-train him at left tackle to see if he could play there. Certainly was a little bit of a surprise, but not it's nothing etched in stone. It's just one of those things where the Saints are going to see what he does on the left side. He admitted he was a little bit rusty on that left side. He compared it to driving on a different side of the highway or the wrong side of the highway. And I've always talked to veteran offensive linemen who said the same thing. Going from right to left is way more difficult than people realize. So they're trying to see if he can do it and how good he can be at it. They know he can always fall back and be the right tackle if necessary. But this is just a clear sign that the Saints are doing everything possible to find their best 5, no matter where those 5 end up, just to get those best 5 up from the offensive line ready to go, because obviously with this new offense and quarterback Derek Carr, you need to have a good offensive line, and I think there were times last year where that wasn't the case, and this year they want to make sure they get the right 5, and we'll see what happens, but it just goes to show you that they are at least open to options when it comes to 4.
Probably the biggest name, Spencer Rattler, because of the position that he plays, obviously, at quarterback. What'd you see from the young signal caller this weekend?
Thought he was solid. I really did. From a stature-wise, he was about what I thought he would be, just a shade over 6 foot. Seems to see the field well. I said it when he was drafted, and it kind of was reiterated this weekend. He's got a good base to work with. It just feels like the nuances, the fundamentals of the game, he feels like he won't have to spend a whole lot of time on that. It feels like he's got that part down. It's just a question of how good can he get, where is his ceiling, and I felt like rookie minicamp, he was pretty solid. I mean, he worked the first and second level well, 0 to 10 and 11 to 20-yard part of the field. Really saw the middle of the field well, which is something that you don't always see when it comes to college quarterbacks, especially when you first get into the rookie minicamp, your first day on the job, so to speak. He wasn't perfect. He dropped a snap, and I thought there was a couple throws in that 18 to 20-yard dig range where ball kind of fell apart on him. But for the most part, looked like he had command of the huddle, and just feels like from a fundamental standpoint, he's got that part down. So I think it's going to be a good battle between Jake Haener and Spencer Rattler for QB2 this season.
Yeah, let's break that down, the backup quarterback, and how does Taysom Hill kind of factor into the decisions that they make with those two players?
Taysom Hill is going to – there is a Taysom position that's his. That's a hybrid of tight end, quarterback, and slot receiver, whatever the H-back, whatever the case may be. And there'll be certain days where they get some work for him in at quarterback. And obviously with a new offensive coordinator, they may want to mix in a little more, a little less. Who knows? It really depends on how Clint Kubiak feels. But it's going to be curious to see how they divvy up the reps with 4 quarterbacks that aren't named Taysom Hill. You talk about Carr, you talk about Haener, and now Spencer Rattler, and of course Nathan Peterman. So I think that's something to really watch going forward. How many reps these guys get, because that'll kind of determine how you can evaluate those guys. So I guess it's all to be determined. But in regards to Taysom Hill, it's just one of those situations where he'll have a day or two where they'll kind of sprinkle him in at the quarterback position, but I still think he'll be training all over the field like he typically does.
You mentioned Dallin Holker, the tight end from Colorado State, as a guy who stood out. What did you see from him?
Moves well, just seems to have a good feel for where he's supposed to be on the field, seems to have a nice just kind of feel for spacing, which is a lot of what tight ends have to do when you talk about the blocking aspect, the block and release. Certain releases when you got to work the underneath crosser or get into that 7 route or seam route that they like to run, and he ran a lot of that at Colorado State. Just feels like he was the guy they pinpointed after the draft to really get that guy in the undrafted ranks. They spent a lot of money to get him, and I just think he's someone they envision that could certainly make the roster or be a high-end practice squad player that could eventually get on the roster within the season. We've seen that before, but I think he's got a good feel for where he's supposed to be on the football field. And look, it's rookie minicamp, so you don't want to jump to any conclusions. But given the depth at that position and maybe his skill set, maybe he can bring a little something to that group that maybe is missing a little bit.
Chatting with Sean Fazan, Fox 8 down in New Orleans, talking Saints rookie minicamp, which took place back over the weekend. Kool-Aid McKinstry's the guy they traded up to get. What'd you see from the Alabama product?
Didn't participate because he's still dealing with the foot injury. Talked to him after. He seems to like being down here with the Saints and getting accustomed to everything. But he, along with Jalen Ford and Josiah Ezra, the 7th-round pick, dealing with minor injuries, so they were not on the field.
What do you think the plan is for Kool-Aid McKinstry as far as where he plays in the secondary and maybe the future? And obviously that discussion kind of starts with Marshawn Lattimore, I would guess.
Yeah, that's where it starts. So if Marshawn's back and you have Marshawn Lattimore and Paulson Adebo, those are your 2 outside guys. I think that's pretty set. If he's not back, then you have a greater discussion of whether or not Alontae Taylor kicks outside or Kool-Aid is able to compete on the outside. But I think initially, they haven't come out and said this, but I think they can certainly, if they're cross-training a first-round pick, Talise Fuaga, they can certainly do it with Kool-Aid McKinstry. I think he's a guy that initially can battle Alontae Taylor for the nickel position because, there were spurts last season where Taylor got benched because of poor play at that nickel position. He's been very open about how nickel has been difficult for him. He's a more natural outside player. So I think initially, if everyone's back, I think Kool-Aid can compete to be the nickel. But if not, this team is in dime a lot, especially on 3rd down. They use a lot of 6DBs, so there's a chance he can get on the field in that regard as well.
This has nothing to do with rookie minicamp. It's just a question I'm curious about as you cover the team. Are they going to have some competition at punter and kicker come August? Because it just obviously wasn't great last year.
They absolutely should, and they brought in an Irish kicker and they brought in a kicker, I believe, from a punter from Australia. They played at Vanderbilt last year. So I believe there absolutely should be a competition. And I'm going back over some offensive tape right now from last year, and there's 3 games last year where, some better field goal kicking, you got a couple of extra wins. I mean, the Houston game, a couple other games that'll come to me a little bit later, but that's just one that jumps off just in terms of better specialist play could certainly help in terms of wins and losses. So, yeah, I think if one of those punters or kickers come out and they're able to outshine the incumbent, much like the incumbents now did with the previous incumbents, I think there could be a switch at those positions.
Schedule release comes out later this week on Wednesday. What are you looking for there?
Always look to see where the bye week is. I love a middle of the season bye week, because 2 years ago it was like middle of December, which was it ruined all advantage you would have for a bye week, because by the time they got to it, they were already too far in the hole to dig themselves out and use a bye week to their advantage. That's the main thing. Who's the primetime game? I think we were talking in the office, maybe 3 this year. I know last year was 2 Thursdays and a Monday, but I think they'll have their Thursday. I just got a feeling Peyton coming back to New Orleans could be a primetime game. Yeah. So over under, I'm gonna set it at 3 right there for primetime games, and then any cold weather games, and see who they open with. That's about it. I guess we'll figure it out on Wednesday, but it's always that interesting time of year because it sets the calendar for a lot of us for the rest of 2024.
NFL always finds a way to find itself into the news cycle, so they'll release that schedule coming up later on this week. Sean, we really appreciate some time. Thanks.
All right, bud.
He's Sean Fazant, a sports anchor down there at Fox 8 in New Orleans. You're looking for our Saints content, you can always find it on YouTube. Hunt on Saints is our Saints YouTube channel. Nothing but Saints football all year long. Every time we talk Saints on this show, it uploads right there to YouTube on our channel, Hunt on Saints. Appreciate Sean for jumping in and giving us the details from minicamp over the weekend. All right, take a time out. When we come back, Paul Skenes debuted over the weekend. What did I see against my Cubbies? We'll talk about it next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Join me for a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show presented by Gulf Coast Office Products, reacting to LSU and Alabama from Tuscaloosa and Paul Skenes' Major League debut. Hunt Palmer Show 1 to 3 weekdays, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
Shout out Trey Beal, Gulf Coast Office Products, GCOPnet.com, GCOPnet.com. Printing, scanning, copying. Look, if you're a business and you're operating, you're going to need a printer, scanner, copier, all that jazz. And if you haven't given any thought to what your needs are from that perspective, you probably should, because there are different options depending on what vertical market you're in. I can promise you this. Whatever it is that you do, whether you're in law, whether you're education, healthcare, like us, your media company, Trey Beal has got clients in your vertical and understands the needs of each individual client. He'll get you hooked up with the best and the right printer, scanner, copier for your needs. GCOPnet.com is the website, GCOPnet.com. Really cool scene in Pittsburgh on Saturday. That's a fan base that has been tortured going back to the 90s. Basically, since Barry Bonds left, there's been very little to cheer about in Pittsburgh. It is one of the financially strapped organizations in Major League Baseball, I think would be fair to say. And every time somebody comes along that's an excellent player, whether it's Andrew McCutchen or Garrett Cole, they end up leaving.
That's one way to put it, or you could just say cheap.
I could say that. But that's just the situation. And you don't always get the number one pick in the draft, and sometimes when you do get the number one pick in the draft, you take a high school kid that doesn't pan out. And to take a guy this high profile that Paul Skenes, who showed up at LSU, was on that great team, won a national championship, throwing over 100 miles an hour, pitching ninjas all over it, like to get him and to have him move through the system this quickly is a jolt that this organization really hasn't felt in a very, very long time. And you could see that in the stadium on Saturday. I was actually driving home to watch it, and I put my MLB app on and fired up the Pirates pregame show, and they were just giddy on their local radio talking about Paul Skenes coming up. Crowd was fantastic, and Skenes shows up before he ever threw a pitch. Of course, we had to get the shot of Livy Dunn in the suite because they had to do that, obviously. And then it was to business, and Paul Skenes struck out Mike Tauchman to open the game, struck out Seiya Suzuki in the second out of the game, and he was off and running. Now, his line doesn't look awesome when you see that in totality, 4 innings, 6 hits, 3 runs, both earned. What that doesn't tell you is that when Paul Skenes gave the baseball up in the 5th inning, the two guys who came in for him, Nicholas and Fleming, managed to do something that I don't think I've ever seen before in a Major League Baseball game. They threw 16 consecutive balls, 16 in a row, and walked in 3 runs. It was comedy hour. And as I was texting Beck and some of my friends, I was like, well, welcome to Pittsburgh, Paul.
It was actually 4, by the way.
For what?
4 runs walked in.
4 runs walked in. Unbelievable. I mean, and then the skies opened up and there was a delay, and I think they walked in a run after the rain delay, and I didn't watch after that because we were going on to dinner and whatnot. But I mean, it's just
actually they walked in 2 more runs after that.
Just atrocious bullpen work by an organization that has been atrocious. I got to think that this was the first time in Aroldis Chapman's career that he entered a game in which the starting pitcher threw harder than him. Like, that's got to be the first time that's happened in Aroldis Chapman's career. But Skenes was fantastic. Interesting little trivia note, he struck out 7 in his 4 innings. The first hit that Paul Skenes allowed in the big leagues was to Miles Mastrobuoni. Miles Mastrobuoni was recruited and signed to Nevada by Jay Johnson, who ended up coaching Paul Skenes at LSU, as you well know. But Skenes was throwing really hard. The slider looked good. His command wasn't awesome. He did issue a couple of walks, but he did, like I mentioned, he struck out 7 in 4 innings and was better than Justin Steele, who's coming off nearly a Cy Young season, and Steele gave up 3 home runs in the 4 innings that he pitched. So it was not a banner outing for the Cubs ace. But for Skenes, I think it was a validating performance. He can go out there and pitch. The Cubs hit him a little bit. I mean, obviously, Nico Horner got him for the home run, and Mastrobuoni had a couple of hits, and so they did get some base runners on. But Skenes flexed his muscles, got a big strikeout with the bases loaded and 1 out to strand runners, and looked definitely the part. And I joked and laughed, obviously, last on Friday, saying I hope the Cubs score 7 runs in the first inning off him, which would have been fine with me. I want the Cubs to win the game. And actually, the worst thing happened because Skenes had an ERA of 6.75 when he left, and the Cubs lost. So that's not exactly the outcome that I was looking for. But I will say this: I will have every opportunity to pull for Paul Skenes against Milwaukee, against the Cardinals, against the Reds. There's going to be a lot of division games that he pitches that I do want the Pirates to win because I don't imagine they're going to be in the mix to win anything. And he plays against the teams that I like to lose a lot. So I'll be pulling for Paul Skenes a ton. I thought it was a very, very solid Major League debut. Beck, I know you were watching. What did you think?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good too. I was a little bit surprised by first of all giving up a home run to Nico Horner.
Nico didn't hit a lot of homers.
Doesn't hit a lot of home runs, but he
hanging slider.
Yeah, he sat on it and looked good. And yeah, the walks after that just was unbelievable. So if the pitcher that comes in for him doesn't just walk every guy in the lineup, then you can take away those 2 earned runs. So it probably looks a little bit better that way. But I think it's a good start for him. So we'll see where he goes from here. Hopefully he can go a little bit deeper into some of his starts in the next few weeks.
Yeah, it's a pitch count for sure, but it's also an innings count. And you realize that a major league pitcher and a starter in the major leagues, if they really are a workhorse and an inning eater, which there are very few of those now, you're talking about 185 to 200 innings for a starter. And Paul Skenes is coming off a year where he barely threw 150. So you don't want to go from 150 to 200 on an arm you just paid $10 million for. So the reason they started him so slow was to keep those innings down, so they don't have to shut him down at the end of the year, which is what Washington was always having to do with Steven Strasburg. In the exact same situation, you got a young arm that does 100 miles an hour. You've got a lot invested in it. If something goes wrong, you're in a big world of hurt. And so they're trying to keep that innings number down. I would imagine he'll be held around 80 pitches for a couple of starts and then stretch it up toward 100 there to move forward. But look, I don't have a ton of hatred for the Pirates. I despise the Cardinals and the Brewers with every fiber of my being. The Pirates have not been an issue, and the one time the Cubs and Pirates did play a meaningful game, the Cubs won it in 2015 in the wild card game where Garrett Cole pitched and the Cubs hit 1 million home runs. So I don't have any real hatred for the Pirates. They've always been bad. So it was cool for me to see that city, that town, as jacked up as they were for baseball, because honestly, the summer is just waiting through losses until the Steelers start in Pittsburgh, and you would like something a little bit more substantial, and Paul Skenes can offer that every 5th day when he goes out there and pitches. They were really, really fired up for it, and he threw the ball well. Again, if the reliever comes in and doesn't issue those walks, you're talking about 4 innings, 6 hits, 1 run, 7 strikeouts. That's a pretty palatable line for the big right-hander. But he'll be back on the mound a little bit later on this week.
Well, actually, the Cubs will see him again most likely next week. They have a 4-game series with the Pirates, so This one will be in Wrigley, so we'll see Skenes again very soon.
Hope the Cubs score 7 in the first of that.
Yeah, me too.
I got some hate for that.
Well, yeah. What did you expect?
It was a little bit of tongue in cheek, a little bit not, but a little bit of tongue in cheek. I said it was a little bit for show, but I really just want the Cubs to win. Either way, that can happen. People are like, "Oh, well, it's only one game." Well, no, we missed the playoffs by one game last year, so I need to get all the wins I possibly can. So Paul Skenes' debut over the weekend was a success, and the Cubs won the other 2 games in the series. So there you have it. That's it for hour number 1 here on a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Open it up talking LSU and Alabama, and then LSU's resume as far as baseball goes for the NCAA tournament. That's the top of the show. And Sean Fazan joined us at 1:30. You can go back and listen to that on demand, or you can catch it on our Saints channel, Hunt on Saints on YouTube. We talked about the Saints minicamp and how things went over the weekend. So if you missed any of that, you can catch it all on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on-demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google. Wherever you find your sound, just search Hunt Palmer Show. Like, subscribe, rate, review. We certainly do appreciate that. Still plenty to get to after SportsCenter as well. LSU is looking around in the transfer portal and not just at defensive tackle. They're still looking at defensive tackle as well. One offer came off the board. One offer went on the board. So we'll talk about some of that in hour number 2. And when we come back after SportsCenter, Dennis Allen met with the media after Saints rookie minicamp, and we'll hear what the head coach for the Black and Gold had to say. Come back after SportsCenter with us. It is a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
Farming is a way of life for us. It's not something we get up in the morning and dread going do. It's just something we go to bed at night looking forward to getting up to go do. John Deere equipment is what we as farmers strive to have. So it's in your blood, it's in your veins. It's just a part of who you are. Green is what we want to be in. The other tractors were acquired to patch it up to get to where you want to be. Where we want to be is in John Deere. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $11,000 off the new 23 Dodge Charger. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $11,000 off the powerful new Charger. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps are held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com.
Is Sports Center.
I'm Christine Lisi. Breaking NFL news, the Buccaneers and safety Antoine Winfield Jr. agreed on a 4-year, $84 million deal, reports ESPN's Adam Schefter. He becomes the highest-paid defensive back in league history. Cavalier star Donovan Mitchell questionable Game 4 of the second-round NBA playoff series against the Celtics tonight due to a left calf strain. Mitchell, in 10 postseason games for Cleveland, has averaged over 29 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. The Cavs down 2-1. Bronny James, who suffered cardiac arrest last year and had a procedure to repair a congenital heart defect 9 months ago, medically cleared to play in the NBA by the league's Fitness to Play panel. The eldest son of LeBron James can take part in this week's pre-draft combine. ESPN NBA insider Brian Windhorst.
I think if the Lakers have an opportunity to draft Bronny James, they will do so. I think they will try. I do not think it's going to be their top priority. And I don't think the league right now is looking at this as draft Bronny James and you can get LeBron.
LeBron's got a June 29th deadline to decide whether he'll opt in or opt out of the final year of his contract with the Lakers.
As humans, we like having options. One option you might like is speaking with a real person when you call about your credit card. With 24/7 live, U.S.-based customer service from Discover, everyone can talk to a real person anytime, day or night. Limitations apply. See terms at discover.com/credit card.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2, Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Gulf Coast Office Products. LSU still fishing in the transfer portal waters. Maybe looking at a different position. I'll tell you about that coming up in about 15 minutes from right now. Saints had rookie minicamp over the weekend, as you know. Had roughly 60 players out there between draft picks and undrafted free agents, and some players are not on guaranteed contracts. And just kind of getting the blood flowing a little bit. No pads, no tackling or anything, but some integration of the offense, a little bit of 7-on-7 type stuff, and some drills. And really an opportunity, I think, for the local media in New Orleans to get to know some of these young players who the Saints may be leaning on pretty heavily coming up this fall. So we want to hear from Dennis Allen, the head coach of the New Orleans Saints, some of the things that he had to say. And the first bite we have here is talking about his new offensive coordinator and what they're trying to do offensively to get this thing rolling.
Yeah, look, I think the offensive staff in general is doing a really good job. You know, they're doing a good job of implementing the system, both with these rookies and also with the vets in the building. Certainly, we've got a lot of work to do, but I think it's been a good start. The guys are working really hard, all of them, players, coaches, everybody. It's been fun to see.
I'll say I don't know where my expectations are for the Saints offense. My curiosity level is high. I'm curious how different this is going to look. Because if you turn on the New Orleans Saints at noon last year and then flipped over to that 49ers game at 3 o'clock after that, like the difference in the two offenses was astronomical. And I think it's easy for us to suggest, oh, here comes Clint Kubiak. He's just going to run Shanahan's offense. Well, probably not. I think that he worked under Kyle Shanahan, but to suggest that they're the exact same coach and they're going to do the exact same thing, I think would be disingenuous. But I do think it's going to look different, and I'm curious at just how different it is and what it's going to look like. We don't get our answer until September, but I'm just curious. My curiosity level is high with the Saints on offense. Part of that offense is going to be Taliese Fuanga and where he fits in on the offensive line. We know the issues that they've got at tackle. We know the Trevor Penning situation. We know the Ryan Ramczyk situation. Both of those are very, very tenuous at this point. Where does Fuanga fill in? And that's what Dennis Allen spoke about.
Starting off, we're going to work him primarily over on the left side, and then we'll evaluate it as it goes. I mean, we haven't made any decisions in terms of concrete decisions, but yet that's where we're going to start him right now. We wanted to get him a lot of work in this camp, see how he does in this camp, and then we'll reevaluate after this camp.
I think the right thing to do is to get him at this point in the offseason where you're a long way away from getting ready to play a football game. The right thing to do is to put him at left tackle. Show me you can't play left tackle. If he doesn't do that, I think there's reason to believe he is your left tackle. But if he does early on, it's the wrong side of the road, as we were talking about with Sean Fazan earlier. He's a right tackle. That's where he's comfortable. That's where he's best. What's the deal with Ryan Ramczyk? I don't know. Okay, we'll figure out left tackle with somebody else. But we've drafted this guy in the first round. We expect him to be on the team for 10 years, and maybe it's at right tackle. Maybe he's the next guy after Ryan Ramczyk. But you're not going to learn anything if he plays right tackle right now because you already know that he's a right tackle. You've evaluated all that tape. You understand that that's where he's played and dominated at the college level. So show me left tackle and see what that looks like. I think that's absolutely the right decision. Do we have another bite there talking about Fuanga and whether or not right or left tackle? Let's play that.
Yeah, no. So what we just played was
right.
It was his decision, and then this is Dennis Allen talking about Fuanga getting reps at left tackle.
Okay.
I think we want to take a look at him on the left side and see how he does over there. I think we're pretty confident that he can play right tackle. And so getting him some work over on the left side, I think, is important. And then we'll evaluate it as we go and see how he does.
I completely agree with that decision making, and I think that I think this was a quality draft pick by the New Orleans Saints. Spencer Rattler, probably the biggest name of the rookies there at minicamp because he plays quarterback. Certainly not a first round pick, but Spencer Rattler was a very, very high profile high school player that everybody knew, and of course you see him on The Quarterback, that Netflix documentary, and then he goes to Oklahoma where he's playing for Lincoln Riley and filling in for the 2 straight Heisman Trophy winners. You're talking about Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray. Things don't quite work out there, and a future Heisman Trophy winner takes over for him, goes to South Carolina, and is kind of the face of that program. And so he's a big name, and I think it's reasonable to kind of have some questions about Spencer Rattler and where he fits in. And Dennis Allen talked about the youngster.
Well, it's probably a better question to ask him, but he certainly looked fine to me. You know what I mean? Like, I thought the last couple of days, I think he's done a pretty good job, getting guys in and out of the huddle. For the most part, there hadn't been a lot of re-huddles. We're getting the calls out, and guys are executing.
That's the point of the NFL calendar that we're in right now. Yeah, he got out of the huddle. Got out of the huddle great. That's where we are.
It's funny. It's funny you mentioned that and that specific cut from Dennis Allen there because we talked about it. I was doing OTB this morning and they kind of talked about just the rookies going through playbooks and learning plays and all the verbiage and like installs and all that and just how difficult it is can be for rookie quarterbacks coming in just to learn this is the play call and how to say it to the huddle and know it and know what the play means before starting the actual play. So it is pretty interesting to hear him say that, but it's so hopefully that's something that Spencer Rattler doesn't struggle with. It seems that he hasn't.
Look, I'll be quite honest. Like nobody drafted me to play quarterback in the NFL to this point. So I still got some eligibility left, but nobody's done that yet. But like my short-term memory on like phone numbers and stuff, I would have no chance at hearing a coordinator give me that long, goofy sounding play and getting it to the other 10 guys. I would have no chance.
Me too. I would be terrible. I have like I'm not good at focusing on stuff. Like I'm always like kind of darting around like thinking about something and then thinking about something else. So
you tell me a phone number, I have no chance of punching that into my phone. I can't go and like look up a phone number and then type it in. I can't do it. And so I would never be able to. My quarterbacking days ended when the plays were called 88 wham and 37 toss, and like that was the end of the play. The stuff they do now, like I would just have absolutely no shot at. But as far as Spencer Rattler goes, like we talked about this after the draft, I think it was a worthwhile pick. Most of the time, 5th, 6th, 7th rounders don't pan out. Now, they're lottery tickets, and they can, and sometimes you draft guys late and they turn into really, really good players. I mean, obviously the famous example of that right now that's playing is Brock Purdy, but it's worth a shot at a guy that has talent to bring him in and see what he can do. The Saints have needed their backup quarterback in, 3 of the last 5 years? I mean, the end of Breeze, you had to have Teddy Bridgewater, and you had to have Taysom Hill play, and then Jameis got hurt as well, and last year Carr got hurt. Like, it's good to have a backup quarterback, but I think for me, the more interesting thing is, like, is there a chance lightning could strike and he could actually be your franchise quarterback? We'll see. He'll compete with Jake Haener this year to sit behind Derek Carr, and we'll see how that kind of shakes out. But I'm interested in Spencer Rattler. I think that's an interesting storyline with the Saints in the offseason. Bub Means, guy that the Saints would love to make this team. They're looking for pass catchers and options out there beyond the kind of the starting 3 at wide receiver. What does Bub Means bring to the Saints?
Look, I think for the first couple of days, I think he's done some good things. Yesterday, he got cut a little short with some cramps, so he's got to get himself into shape. But if he's in shape and ready to go, I think there's some talent there. He's big, he's got some physicality, he can run, so there's a lot of good qualities there.
With Michael Thomas moving on, you've kind of lost the big physical target. You don't necessarily have that. I wouldn't classify Chris Olave as a big physical target. Certainly not Rashid Shaheed. So I think Equanimeous St. Brown comes in and has that kind of pedigree. Does he make the team? I don't know. Bub Means kind of cut out of that same cloth, big physical guy. We'll see if he can make some waves there with the Saints at wide receiver. And last cut here from Dennis Allen as we continue to talk about the offense is talking about the biggest difference from the new offense to the old.
The biggest thing is the verbiage. I think that's the biggest adjustment that all players have as they go from system to system. I think the verbiage that we have now is a little less wordy than maybe what we've had in the past, which I think can benefit our players and hopefully look. I think the hope in terms of the system is that we can kind of simplify and get guys not having to think so much and get guys playing faster. And I think that's part of what we're trying to do.
The positive thing there is if you were trying to go to work with Caleb Williams or Jaden Daniels and they were having to pick up all this new verbiage and trying to figure this out on the fly, I think that would be a little bit concerning. But as far as Derek Carr goes, he's going to pick this up pretty quickly. And I don't think the transition is going to be a huge deal to him. He's a pro. He's been in the NFL for a decade. He'll be able to figure this out and have it up and running by the time the Saints get to training camp. And I don't have any doubt about that. So I see where Dennis Allen's coming from, saying, we've got to change everything we say offensively because it's a brand new staff coming in here, not doing things the way they've been done for a very, very long time. But when you got a veteran quarterback like that, you feel like they're going to pick it up and figure it out really quickly. So that's just a few nuggets from Saints rookie minicamp over the weekend down in New Orleans. Our Saints coverage always on YouTube at Hunt on Saints. Subscribe up to that. Get all your black and gold coverage. We certainly do appreciate it. When we come back, we'll talk some LSU football. Look into the transfer portal for non-defensive tackles. We'll talk about it.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electric training camp around the corner. Kind of. That means storm season kind of around the corner as well. The best time to think about your power needs is not after it's gone out. It's now. Get ready for storm season with a Generac generator from Boudreaux's Electric. Neil and Melissa have been running Boudreaux's Electric for 40 years. They are a premier Generac dealer. That means they're in the top 3% nationwide in terms of Generac generator distribution. And they're right here in South Louisiana. They can service your home or your business anywhere here in South Louisiana. They've got the Napoleonville location, but the Gonzales location coming very, very soon as well. The number for Boudreaux's Electric, 985-397-1562. Get that generator installed by a professional at Boudreaux's Electric. All those generators come with a 7 to 10 year warranty. 7 to 10 year warranty. Be covered. Get that generator. Give yourself the peace of mind of knowing the power is not going to go out at your house. Boudreaux's Electric, 985-397-1562.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our #1 product is always
Moscona inviting you to join us for Monday's AFR, presented by Relief Windows. We'll recap LSU, Alabama, and baseball. David DeLucci will be here, and our takeaways from Saints rookie minicamp, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
Moving right along here, Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Let's talk some LSU football here. As the transfer portal never sleeps. You can't get in it right now, but if you're already in it, you can go wherever you'd like. And LSU continues to try to fill out the roster. Looks like there's 3-4 spots left for LSU to potentially add a little bit more talent this summer. And we know that defensive tackle has been the biggest need. And we know that, as Brian Kelly said last week, it hasn't gone great. They've had some big-time visitors in and have not been able to get those guys to commit and come to LSU. So you still have some other smaller school players that you're looking at. And I think Aiden Huntington from ULM was one of them. We've talked about him a couple times. He was a Kent State product, then went to ULM. Very productive at ULM, but undersized for the Southeastern Conference. It appears that Aiden Huntington is no longer an option for LSU. They have decided to move on from him, and potentially maybe Baylor might be a spot. Cal might be a spot that he ends up at, but not going to be at LSU. JVR Suggs, the Grand Valley State prospect, is very much still on the table for LSU. They've hosted him for a visit. Obviously, there are a lot of Grand Valley State ties here on this LSU football program, led by Brian Kelly, who went to Grand Valley State and coached there. So I think JVR Suggs may be a guy that LSU can lure in. Question is, can they do it quickly here after this visit? That's the way you'd like things to go, obviously. That's really the extent of it at defensive tackle right now. There could be a name here or there that pops up, so I think that's where they're focusing things. I obviously last week told you, like, at what point are you just adding a guy because he's a guy? Do you think that a guy who played for Grand Valley State last year can help you? And we rolled through all the list of guys that played at tiny schools that can absolutely help, that have been great NFL players. We talked about Jared Verse as well. Like, I'm not suggesting that no one who plays at that level can play in the SEC. I just think there are very few of them. And the thought of plugging up a need on your team with someone from Grand Valley State is concerning to me. But we'll see. It's better than a folding chair, not having anyone and leaving a scholarship on the table. So we'll see what comes next of JVR Suggs. But what we thought, and we heard Brian Kelly say back in January and into spring, is that, we're going to look in the transfer portal and we're going to address defensive tackle. And said, well, is there any other position you think you want to address? And he was like, no, I think defensive tackle is really it. And that to me was indicative of the way that Brian Kelly feels about how to build a roster. It's that he wants to do it with high school players for the vast majority of a roster. And then as needed, you take a guy or two here or there, but you don't really want to extend over 4 or 5 ads in the transfer portal every year. He doesn't want to do this the way Lane Kiffin is doing things in Oxford. He wants to do it with the high school kids that LSU can recruit, and he's done a very good job of recruiting them. But I think it's foolish to leave scholarships on the table. And if you're not going to sign 3 or 4 defensive tackles, and you've got some guys that may have some talent that can come in and help at other positions, why not flesh that out? And I think they're doing that. And one of those positions is in the secondary. And the name that is coming up is Wesley Walker. Now, Wesley Walker has been in college for a very long time. Wesley Walker started his collegiate career at Georgia Tech in 2019. It is 2024. It's been a long go for Wesley Walker. He started at Georgia Tech for a couple of years, including the COVID-shortened year. And then after his redshirt sophomore year at Georgia Tech, where he started 8 games, he transferred to Tennessee. Now, he was on that very, very good Tennessee team of a couple of years ago and played in all 13 games, had a couple of starts as a redshirt junior on that team, had 36 tackles, 5.5 tackles for loss, 5 pass breakups, an interception, and a sack on that team that won the Orange Bowl against Clemson. This last season, he played in 10 games and then got hurt and missed two games at the end there due to injury, but he was 4th on Tennessee's team with 53 total tackles. He led the team in tackles against Missouri, had a TFL in that game as well, had a TFL against Kentucky where he had 9 tackles, and had a productive redshirt senior season at Tennessee. He decided after that was over that he was going to transfer, and did, to Louisville. And he went through spring practice at Louisville and said, you know what, I'm good. I'm going to get in the transfer portal again. So he's out at Louisville and is potentially looking at LSU. LSU has a lot of numbers in the secondary. They have a lot of players. How good those players are remains to be seen. I don't know what kind of college player Javian Toviano is going to be. I don't know how good a college player Ashton Stamps is going to be. I got a good idea what Major Burns is. I got a pretty good idea of what Sage Ryan is. But if you're going to add another safety here, I'm all for it, especially a guy who's started games in the ACC and SEC over the last 5 years. This is a guy I'm perfectly willing to take a chance on because Wesley Walker coming in at, he's got good size. He's 6'2", 200 pounds, and he's started a lot of SEC games. So it's not a guy that you're going to come in and light the world on fire. He's not going to be potentially an all-conference level player. He hasn't been that in his years at Georgia Tech or Tennessee, but he's proven he can play in the league. And that's somebody that I'd be willing to add. They've got to find some answers in the secondary. And I think they have a lot of options. I just don't know how rock solid those options are. That's Corey Raymond's job to figure it out. And so it's a guy that's a veteran and has started a lot of games. I'm all for Wesley Walker being added to this LSU football roster. There are still needs a defensive tackle. We know that. But the defense is at every level is a bit of a concern at this point. So for me, I'm taking a swing at it. So we'll see if they can get him on a visit. We'll see if they can get him signed in. He's done with his classes there at Louisville. Obviously, spring football well in the rearview mirror. So he's just looking for a landing spot, and I think that there's a real chance that LSU could make a splash there. So there's your news on the transfer portal with LSU football. 1 defensive tackle not coming. 1 defensive tackle very well could be coming. Lower level guys. Now you got a 2-time transfer that's showing up here in Wesley Walker. We'll see if they can reel him in. But as things break, we'll certainly be there to let you know how it all goes down. All our LSU football segments are on our LSU football YouTube channel, Hunt on LSU. Subscribe to it. All football all the time. Don't have to worry about baseball, basketball, all football and recruiting. So check that out on YouTube. It's Hunt on LSU. All right, moving right along here on the Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We got 35 minutes or so left to go. Come back with us on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. $1,000 off Hunt Palmer Show listeners. Go to onebathandclosets.com, set that free consultation, and when it happens with David Duvall and his team, say, hey, I listened to the Hunt Palmer Show, heard your live reads there. Boom, $1,000 off for you. That's how good a guy David Duvall is. And look, safety is such an important thing in the bathrooms, especially as we or our loved ones age. If you're worried about that, let David Duvall and his team come in and put some safety precautions in your bathroom, whether it's a non-slip floor, it's handrails around the shower tub areas, maybe it's a walk-in tub, maybe it's a bench in the shower so that you can prevent slips and falls, keep people safe. If that's a concern of yours, One Bath and Closets does that kind of stuff all the time, and you can get $1,000 off if you tell them the Hunt Palmer Show sent you there. It's One Bath and Closets. Check them out online, onebathandclosets.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you.
Tannegrove, join us for the Tuesday edition of Live at Lunch. We are at Mike Anderson Seafood, Wesley at Nicholson. Take a look back at the night in the NBA, plus Andy Isco joins us from Las Vegas. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. Tuesday on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live After 5 is back this spring. Clock out and rock out with us Fridays. Going through next week, it's the last week of Live After 5 in downtown Baton Rouge for the free concert series from 5 to 8. Join us for another season filled with incredible music, delicious food, talented artists, and a lively second line parade. This Friday, come out to see the Bucktown All-Stars for Live After 5.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
So, you like what you like. And, I like plenty of stuff that is frowned upon by a large segment of the population. Like, I like domestic beer, domestic light beer. I think that's great. Some people think that's ridiculous.
I disagree with that. I think you're in the. I don't think you're in the minority.
No,
for that.
but like some people think that's just pathetic. Like I like country music, the modern country music, which most people think is just absolutely awful. I like to go watch LSU practice baseball in October, which people think is bizarre. There are plenty of things that I like that are so that's not really the point here. But I will suggest this. I did something for the first time on Saturday. I just don't get it. And there's some people that love it, and that's awesome for them. I don't get it. My kid, like 2 weeks ago, somehow, some way got into like monster trucks. Like it was I don't know if you saw a commercial. Maybe his grandfather gave him a monster truck, which he does have a blue one in the house. Like he started saying monster trucks all the time, and so it just turned out there was a monster truck thing on Saturday at the River Center. So we took him, got the headphones on, walked in there 1:30. I don't get monster trucks. It is so loud.
It's very loud.
There's not a lot of variety in what's going on. They kind of just go and jump high and land. It did not entertain me very much.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I find similarly NASCAR to be less entertaining in that. It's a little bit better than Monster Jam, but
at least they're racing.
They're racing.
And like I can tell, like
there's a point to it.
There's one truck that just like goes over a bump.
Yeah.
I mean, we've certainly seen some videos because he'll watch a video here and there on YouTube on the TV, like where they do like a flip or something. But it's just not for me, and that's okay. But I don't get people that make their cars really loud on the street. Like in general, why do we need what is good about the loud car?
Mm-hmm.
I don't really get that. But it just wasn't for me on Saturday. If Myers wants to go back to monster trucks, if he wants to go back to that. We'll go.
How was he? How was it?
He loved it. He's 2.5, so it's not like he's figuring everything out.
Yeah.
But he had his noise canceling headphones on, and a couple of times the monster trucks go 2 at one time, and it is really loud. And it was funny because I was sitting there watching him in the chair, and he like jumped in the chair like he was startled. But usually, like when a 2-year-old gets startled, like they start crying. He didn't like start crying. It startled him, but he was like, "Oh wow!" And so it was intermission. We had been there for an hour, and Paul Skenes was going to pitch in about 25 minutes. So we left at intermission and told him it was over. He did cry about that.
Oh, come on, Hunt.
It was his mom's call. Like
okay.
She was like, "We're out of here." I was like, "That's fine with me. I'm good to go watch Paul Skenes pitch. I don't need another hour of monster trucks." But it just was not exactly my cup of tea. But it looked like a lot of people were having a lot of fun, especially the kids. So I hope that everyone very much enjoyed themselves. I had a very cold beer that was delicious, and I enjoyed that part of it. But it just not necessarily right up my alley. You ever been to a monster truck show?
Yeah, I haven't been to. I went to one when I was a kid. I think I was probably in elementary school or something like that. And one of my uncles brought me and my brother and our cousins, and all I remember is that I don't think we had hearing protection, and we were we were pretty high up. We were pretty far away, but I think it was in the Lamar Dixon Center, and that place isn't that big, and it was just really loud. That's all I remember. It was just extremely loud.
It's real loud in there,
and I just didn't really particularly enjoy that. So,
well, monster trucks. That's a review from Saturday. Something that stood out to me over the weekend was the spots that LSU's freshmen found themselves in. And obviously, Stephen Milam had the ball that he hit really, really hard that could have tied the game, but it was caught by the shortstop. Larson, with one out and runner on third base, strikes out. Jake Brown had the last at bat with the tying run on first base on Sunday. Like, LSU has really put a lot of pressure on those freshmen early, and that's the exact opposite of what we saw last year. And I don't want to compare every team that LSU has to the 2023 team because that's going to be a pretty futile battle more often than not. But it just strikes me that some of the guys who we thought were going to be asked to take big-time roles on this team that are not freshmen have faltered, and it's caused Milam and Brown and obviously Larson to have to take on bigger loads than I certainly expected them to. And it'll pay off for them down the road. And Larson's been LSU's leading hitter in conference play. He's hitting .347 in league games with an on-base of .427 and a slug of .547. So, I mean, he's responded to it very well. He didn't get the hit or make contact in that big spot on Sunday, but, like, he's responded to it pretty well, and he put the team on his back in Missouri with that huge game he had in Game 3. But that's emblematic of this entire thing that has just gone wrong over the last 9 weeks. It's just you've looked up at some of the veterans that you really thought were going to step up and be dudes, and you look up and now you're having to pawn those at-bats off to your younger players. As I look at the numbers in league play, like, all of these are a little bit worse than I expected them to be. Like, Tommy White's hitting .284 in league games. He hit over .400 last year. Josh Pearson's hitting .233 in league games. Mac Bingham's hitting .224 in league games. Paxton Kling, .189 in league games. Brady Neal, .143 in league games. And I realize batting average isn't the end of the world, and I could rattle off on-base percentages as well. But, like, I just thought all those guys would be markedly better than that. And when I get asked all the time, like, what has gone wrong for this team, I can't point to one thing. I don't see one thing. LSU's signing classes have been very heralded. Some of these transfers are guys that have skins on the wall in college baseball. And you just haven't gotten what you thought out of some of these older players. Now, Nate Ackenhausen's been pretty good in most of his SEC outings, but his league ERA is 5.91. Thatcher Hurd's is 11. These guys are older players that have pitched in huge spots. And I don't know if it's coaching. I don't know if it's execution. I don't know if it's player development. Like, I can't pinpoint it because I'm not there all that often. And I'm curious how deep Jay Johnson will dive into this when this season is over. My suggestion is that it will probably be on Tuesday of next week. I just don't have a lot of confidence in LSU on that Tuesday without Jump or Holman on the mound, and I don't think they're going to bring Gage Jump back from Thursday to Tuesday, even with the season on the line. That would surprise me. But I would suggest that Stephen Milam and Ashton Larson have probably performed about like I thought they would. Larson's been better. The rest of the veterans, it just hasn't necessarily clicked, and that's why they're in the situation that they're in. I mean, I could change my entire tune. They go out there and sweep Ole Miss and get into the NCAA tournament. But, like, as we just sit here today and kind of analyze the likely probability that LSU wins one or two games this weekend and is gone by the middle of the week in Hoover next week and doesn't make the NCAA tournament, the question is why? And I don't want to throw players under the bus, but statistics are statistics. It's not like I'm digging this up somewhere. It's all right there in front of our faces. And most of the lineup that LSU thought they were going to put out there is hitting under 250 in league play. I mean, as far as like day one starters, Pearson, Travinsky, Bingham, Milazzo, Kling, Neal, Brown, that's 7 guys you thought you were going to count on this team. Not Larson, not Milam, not even Tommy White and Jared Jones. That's 7 guys. All of them are at 250 or under in league play. All of them. And it's not like they're not being coached to hit. Like, Jay Johnson had Arizona and Omaha twice, had led the nation in hitting at Arizona, had the best offense in the country at Arizona. I would suggest he helped some of those guys along last year as well. But for some reason, like, it just hasn't clicked for this group, and now you're about out of runway. And I just, as I sit there and rack my brain and try to suggest, like, what has gone wrong, I don't know. They figured out Holman and Jump, and those guys have given LSU a great chance. If you missed the segment I did at the top of the show, they are one Alex Milazzo throw away from being 7-1 in those guys' last 8 starts. Like, that's what we thought we were getting from those guys back in January and even into February when they were so good the 4 weeks leading up to conference play, where they allowed 0 earned runs between them in 4 weeks. They've kind of found that over the last 4 weeks. You're 6-2 in their starts. But the rest of this, between the third starter, reliable bullpen arms after Herring, and then the offense from 1 to 9, none of that has been up to standard. And that's why you're sitting here clinging for your life with 3 games left to play of the 56. I think it's probably an aberration. But I'll tell you this, and I said this back after 15 league games, but it crystallizes even more as we sit here today and are thinking that LSU's not going to make the NCAA tournament. Does this not give you a little more appreciation for the 6 consecutive top 8 seeds that Paul Mainieri rattled off from 2012 to 2017? 6 in a row, top 8 seeds. Not hosts, top 8s. That is remarkable consistency that we saw. And I think because Houston got him, and Stony Brook got him, and Coastal got him, and they went 0-2 and 13, and because the taste at the end of those years was so bitter, you probably lost sight of what they did over the course of 15 weeks from the opener through the SEC tournament in all those years to get 6 consecutive top 8s without ever having this happen. And it's happening in Gainesville this year, and Vanderbilt's struggling to rekindle the magic. Nobody's immune from this. Tennessee's having a good go here. But 6 in a row, top 8, like that's really good. And I think at a certain point in the middle of that, everybody was going, and kind of washing their hands of it. Feel pretty good right now to be a top 8. And LSU's just trying to find their way into the NCAA tournament. They'll be back. Jay will get it fixed. He's got a monster class coming in. They got to get through the draft. And he'll go back to the transfer portal. And you got to find some really good players there. But he's tireless and relentless, and I'm sure sick about how the last 9 weeks have gone. So you go out there and you fight like crazy on Thursday, fight like crazy on Friday, fight like crazy on Saturday, and then show up in Hoover and do the best you can, and we'll see where those chips fall. But this thing's always moving. Jay was getting guys in the transfer portal before they went to Omaha last year and signing guys when they were in Omaha. He'll get it done. But this group just has not panned out the way that we thought it would. And I'm as guilty as anybody there with suggesting what this team was. Because, I mean, I remember the lead to my column on 3 the Monday after Houston. We were 3 weeks into the season. They had just gone to Houston, smoked Rice, played 3 really solid games in Minute Maid to win, beat LeBaron Johnson. And I wrote my lead for my columns. It's like, Houston, I don't really have a problem. I couldn't come up with anything. Thought the bullpen was deep and strong. Starting staff looked great. Offense was making things happen. And now you sit here 9 weeks, 10 weeks later, and you go, man, bullpen's not that good, and the offense is not very deep. And there are a lot of issues. And we just didn't diagnose them very early. The SEC has a way of doing that. It's a monster. And it's just about to take LSU's postseason life away, unless the Tigers can go crazy this weekend and sweep an Ole Miss team that seems to be playing a little bit better as of right now. So we'll talk about that as the week moves on. Our baseball breakdown is brought to you by Pluckers all season long. We'll take one more timeout, come back, and close things out. You're listening to a Monday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Every shot, every goal, ESPN Bet has fans covered for the biggest moments on the road to the championship. The exclusive sportsbook of ESPN is the only place to find special offers and promotions from your favorite ESPN shows and personalities throughout the playoffs. New users can get a bet reset up to $1,000 in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Download ESPN Bet today. What a play. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700 in partnership with the Bears Lake Charles. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further. like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial properties. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Monday's AFR, presented by Relief Windows. We'll recap LSU, Alabama, and baseball. David DeLucci will be here, and our takeaways from Saints rookie minicamp, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Get the 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge app powered by Bayou Ford and tap the mic icon to send us your thoughts in audio form. Your message could be played on air during Off the Bench, The Hunt Palmer Show, and after further review. Speak up, tell us your location, and be heard. Find our app in the Apple or Google Play Store. For direct links, visit 1045ESPN.com.
This is The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
Shout out to Trey Beal and the folks at Gulf Coast Office Products, GCOPnet.com. For your printing, copying, scanning needs, Trey Beal has got you covered. They're not a mom and pop shop. They've got more resources than that, but they're not a huge big box brand either. They're a local company right here in Baton Rouge. It's the best of both worlds. You're going to have a great relationship with Trey Beal or whoever your rep is over at Gulf Coast Office Products, and they've got the wherewithal and the power to supply you with whatever it is you need from a printing, copying, scanning point of view. They obviously offer maintenance on all of their units, and they've got $1 million on site here in Baton Rouge if you need copiers and scanners in a pinch. Check them out, GCOPnet.com. Trey Beal and the folks at Gulf Coast Office Products bring you our Monday shows each and every week. All right, let's play some Take It or Leave It.
All right, first one here. Bronny James has been cleared medically to play in the NBA. Of course, he had that problem with
cardiac arrest.
But anyways, he will enter the NBA draft. James averaged 4.8 points, 2.8 rebounds, and 2.3 assists per game at USC. They had a losing record that last season as well. James will play in an NBA game next year. Take it or leave it.
I mean, I'm going to leave it. I don't. This seems so unfair to me, what LeBron James is doing to his son. Like, you're taking his collegiate basketball time away from him to try to rush him up to the NBA to play with you when he's clearly not ready to do that. Like, he can't even get on the floor in the Pac-12. How's he supposed to play in the Western Conference Like, this seems to be orchestrated by LeBron, and it's not considering the best thing for his son, which is to play college basketball. Like, that's a time that you can't get back. And I realize that he wants to play with him, but like, we're rushing him up there to do that, and he's not ready to do it. It doesn't make any sense to me, other than it's just selfish by LeBron. Am I off here?
Well, I don't. You may be off just in the fact that Bronny may realize and look and think to himself, hey, look, I struggled to play at USC this year. I'm not sure that playing a few more years of college basketball is going to turn me into an NBA caliber prospect.
No.
And so my best chance at making it quote unquote to the NBA is to go play with my dad because he will make a team draft me. So it sounds pretty bad. And to me it is. Like, this is just nepotism on a whole nother scale that we've probably never seen before. Other than Giannis having his brother on the Bucks, but this is a whole other level. So to me, it's definitely selfish for LeBron in a way. But I also think it's possible that Bronny realizes that he is not an NBA caliber player, and the only way he can get on an NBA team is if he is with his dad.
It's always, I mean, when you've got the safety net of knowing you never have to worry about your career one day of your life, like Bronny James just doesn't have to worry about what job he has moving forward. So there's that. But it's like, I don't know. I just feel like Bronny James is a capable college basketball player if he goes.
He could be, probably.
He could be the 7th guy on USC's team, I'm sure. I mean, he's a 4-star recruit. He can probably play in the Pac-12. But now he's going to be taken from that into an environment he's not prepared for. It just seems to me not make a lot of sense. But oh well.
Next one here. Paint your partner. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to take it. Alyssa and I did this over the weekend. If you haven't seen this, it's on Instagram. A lot of folks are doing it. You sit across the table from your partner, and you have a canvas there. Got everything at like Hobby Lobby for like $25. And we took 1 hour with a cocktail and painted each other. And I think Cassie has the pictures. We can put them up there. Mine, I don't know if it was phenomenal. Had a little bit of an issue with mixing the paints to get the proper skin tone. Alyssa's got darker skin than me, and she's also wearing a brown shirt, and she has brown hair, so we had a lot of browns going there. I don't know if it was a phenomenal effort by me, but she thought it was pretty decent.
It looks reminiscent of someone in middle school painting
exactly.
someone.
She said she looked a little leathery, and I would submit that's probably correct. And then she painted me as well. Gave me a little bit more credit on the hairline than I
think your face is a little wide there, maybe. You're not quite as wide.
I don't have a neck either.
That's true.
She got. I also helped her out by wearing a solid red shirt, and she's wearing a leopard pajamas.
Yeah,
which took me a long time to try to figure out.
Not helpful.
But it was really fun, and you don't see it until the reveal at the end. She put it up on Instagram. Got a lot of comments. It's a great trend on Instagram if you've never seen it, because generally speaking, like, the women do a pretty good job, and it's fairly recognizable, and the men are just atrocious. I don't think I was all the way too atrocious. I think I was just bad. But it was a lot of fun on Saturday night to have a cocktail and do that. So I highly recommend Paint Your Partner. It was fun.
All right, next one here. Arkansas and Kentucky will meet on the hardwood next season in Rupp Arena. Coach Cal will get a warm welcome from the Lexington faithful. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. I think he will. I think he will. He spent a lot of time there. He won a championship, had a lot of great players, did a lot of really good things there. I think they're all mostly thrilled that he's gone and they have an opportunity to start fresh. But I don't think that's going to be a big-time boost situation. I was watching Ole Miss and Alabama play in baseball back a couple weeks ago. This is on a completely different scale. But T.J. McCants started at Ole Miss for 3 years and now is playing at Alabama, obviously at the home run. Back on Friday night, but they gave him a really warm welcome there. I think. I didn't see how Luke Holman was whenever he. Ooh, I didn't see that either. I don't think there's anybody at an Alabama baseball game.
Not
so
many.
I'm not really sure that there was.
Yeah.
But this is a different level than that. I think he'll get one warm welcome, and then they'll probably boo him when he starts working the officials in the red shirt. So I think that's how that's going to go. But I think the people in Kentucky generally are appreciative of the job that John Calipari did.
All right, last one here. Bill Simmons hinted on his podcast recently that the NBA's new media deal with NBC has been agreed upon and expects it to be announced after the playoffs. Rest in peace inside the NBA. Oh. Take it or leave it.
Man, I didn't think about that when you said that. I was thinking about the NBA on NBC Music, which is incredible.
It's great.
And that made me really happy. And I was like, wait a second. Well, that is chemistry is such a hard thing to find, and watching Shaq and Charles Barkley make each other laugh is just incredible.
It's really...
When Charles Barkley was talking about street meat last week, and they had the little Photoshop thing of him selling street meat in New York, like, Shaq was just in stitches.
Shaq,
and it's so funny. It's just an incredible TV product. And then Ernie's like just trying to
wrangle
cattle.
it. Yeah.
It's just an incredible television show. That's even better than the basketball to me, quite frankly.
It really is. 90% of that show is Shaq just goading Chuck into trying and getting him to say stuff
Talking
that is
about
just
the big women in
the big one in San Antonio, the churros. There's so many just laughable stories
it's
from that
so
show.
good. Man, yeah, that would be really bad if that happened, but we'll see. I love the NBA on NBC theme music. That brings me back to my childhood there, playing some video games as well. All right, that's it for Take It or Leave It here on this Monday. Opened the show today talking LSU and Alabama, and did so with LSU's standing in the NCAA tournament. I don't see a path forward without a sweep for LSU this weekend, so we'll see how that goes. Sean Pazan was with us at 1:30 talking Saints rookie minicamp. If you missed that, you can catch it on YouTube at Hunt on Saints. Paul Skenes made his debut. I closed hour number 1 talking about the big right-hander and how he fared against the Chicago Cubs. Dennis Allen met with the media over the weekend to talk about rookie minicamp. We had some of that sound in hour number 2. That's also on YouTube at Hunt on Saints. Wesley Walker, who was that? Was a safety from Louisville. Now, is he headed to Baton Rouge? We'll see. And then what is LSU doing at defensive tackle? We went through that, and you can find it on YouTube at Hunt on LSU. All our sound is on demand wherever you find your podcast. Matt's about to drive you home on After Further Review. I'm back tomorrow, same time, same place. You've been listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Farming is a way of life for us. It's not something we get up in the morning and dread going do. It's just something we go to bed at night looking forward to getting up to go do. John Deere equipment is what we as farmers strive to have. So it's in your blood, it's in your veins. It's just a part of who you are. Green is what we want to be in. The other tractors were acquired to patch it up to get to where you want to be. Where we want to be is in John Deere. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means